Okay, folks, listen up. If you can avoid buying a car from one of these states, and trust me, some states are better to buy a car in than others, you're going to be better off.
All right, Pops, let's run through them. We are going to talk about the top 5 worst states in the United States of America to buy a vehicle. And also, we'll give you the 5 best towards the end. And before we dive in, let's talk about the criteria, our high methodology.
Methodology sounds really good. Yeah.
We looked at, Dad, price
Our
inflation.
high BS quotient.
All right, Pop. So we looked at states where we looked at price inflation to see which states had vehicle prices that were through the roof, where inventory is the lowest, and then where dealer fees are the highest and sales tax is the highest. The 5 worst states will run in no particular order, but number 1 is certainly the most egregious state of them all. Illinois is on our list as one of the 5 worst states to purchase from, in particular because their sales tax is so high, and also because we've seen with some dealers that operate in Illinois, I'm thinking Napleton, a lot of hidden fees in that state, man, a lot of bait and switch going on there.
And this is just in our opinion. In your opinion, your state where you live in might be worse than these. But Florida is like the wild, wild west of fees. I have never seen
the worst one, man.
Yeah, I have never seen anything like it. If a dealer's not asking you for a minimum of $999 in dock fees and $399 in electronic filing fees, they're not really a dealer in Florida. We've seen those fees anywhere from $999 to $1,500. New York, high tax rate state, high fees. California, in a high tax rate state, good state for dock fees because it's capped at $85. But my goodness gracious, there isn't another state in the United States of America that has more state-regulated fees than California does. No wonder their dock fees cheap, because they're knocking your socks off with all their other fees. Nevada, high sales tax. Illinois, like Zach said, high sales tax, many, many fees, and some shady dealers out there.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear here, there's shady dealers across the board. You jumped right in. Florida is absolutely the worst. These other 4, they're pretty bad, and they don't even compare. Another factor in all this, Dad, is vehicle availability. We know new car inventory levels are the lowest in California and in Florida. Those 2 states, it's most difficult to find inventory. When you go around some of the Midwest states, that's actually where you have the most inventory for both domestics and import brands. So that's why those states wouldn't show up on this list. You mentioned in New York the fact that you have a lot of fees and things like that. New York also has a cap dock fee. It's a little bit higher than California, so that's a plus. It's very difficult to negotiate in New York State. There's such population density and those monopolies. It's really hard to negotiate in New York.
It depends what area you're in New York, but if you're in the New York City tri-state area, New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, those are some of the most ruthless people I've ever encountered in the car business. They figure that if the customer's lips are moving, the customer's lying, and the customers figure if the salespeople's lips are moving, the salesperson's lying. So nobody trusts anybody, and typically with good reason. That is one of my least favorite parts of the country to try and do a deal with.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the 5 states that are the best. And this criteria was quite simple. There are 5 states where there is no sales tax when you buy a car in the United States: Alaska, Delaware, Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon. Now, you know the reason why they're the best. There's no sales tax. Inventory levels can be, fluctuating. Like Alaska, for example, there's not a lot of inventory, so we do still see a lot of markups and things like that, but still no sales tax in that state. Let's explain something that a lot of folks are probably thinking right now. All right, I live in Florida. I might as well just go buy that car from Oregon. Unfortunately, you pay sales tax where you register the vehicle, correct?
Yes. That is correct. If you happen to live in Alaska, Delaware, Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon, and that's where you're going to register your car, you can go anywhere and buy a car and not end up having to pay sales tax if you register in one of those locations. But if you're from outside those states, no, you're going to pay the sales tax in the state where you're going to register the vehicle. But for the people that live in those states, that's a huge benefit. Where you don't have, I mean, for instance, when I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, if I remember correctly, our our sales tax rate was either 8.75% or 9.25%. I mean, it was egregiously high. In Arizona, when I sold cars there, whatever the agreed upon price was, ultimately you would end up adding about 12% on top of that to cover the sales tax, the state title and registration fees. It was crazy high.
We actually have that on our 100% free out the door price calculator. We don't have local sales tax because there's also, at the locality level, potentially some sales tax, but we do have the state sales tax as well as obviously registration fees, estimated doc fees, et cetera. So you can actually go, it's on CarEdge.com. There's a 100% free out the door price calculator. You can use that to get an estimate for in your state what you should expect on top of that dealer's advertised price becomes the ultimate selling price. And again, the unfortunate reality in all of this is in many of the states that we mentioned in our 5 worst, those are the ones where you just have to go in knowing that there is more than likely, a better chance than not that the dealer is going to add on some sort of non-trivial fee, a material fee onto that vehicle. Again, Florida, we've done so many examples over the past few years. It stands out as a sore thumb compared to literally every other state because of the lack of regulation on pricing. And we've even had lawyers from consumer protection lawyers from the state of Florida join us on this channel on our live streams, just talking about how predatory it is down there. And unfortunately, if you're in Florida, you have to pay that sales tax, but you can go across the border to Georgia or go to any of the other nearby states. And we hear a lot of people that end up doing that. Mm-hmm. And that is truly an option if you're down in Florida or in any of these other states that we mentioned. Look at purchasing out of state, just understand that you're ultimately going to pay sales tax where you register the vehicle. And there are companies out there, like the Montana registration, there are companies out there, especially for like supercars, that will help you with registration in another state. We're not endorsing it. We're just saying that it is an option. You just kind of have to do your research about it.
Everything's about the research. Knowledge and research, folks.